presentation in Bangladesh. And I'm very fortunate because I also did share some ideas, similar ideas, in two very big platforms. Do you know about TESOL International? You all know about TESOL International, right? So I was very fortunate to do a webinar on this, not on this, but similar ideas, with TESOL International CPD team, probably in 2021 or 2020, I forgot. And then, once again, I was very fortunate to do another presentation with IATFL. You know IATFL, right? That's also a huge Volunteer English Teachers Organization. So I also did a webinar with IATFL, testing and evaluation TSEEK. That's a special interest group. So I was invited to do a presentation on this with them also, probably in 2022. So why? Because the ideas are so important for me as a teacher, and I found that the ideas are also very, very important, very, very significant to other teachers also, and some students also, they also felt, who attended the presentations, especially the online presentations from different countries, they also shared so many interesting things about this alternative assessment. So what is this alternative assessment? I'm sorry that most of you don't have any ideas about this, but this is not the traditional assessment. Just simply have this. We are familiar with different types of traditional assessments. We know about the formative and summative assessments, but alternative assessments are not those assessments. So something beyond formative and summative, maybe. And it requires complex thinking. You remember, Ben has been mentioning this. We want our students to think critically. So it requires extended time sometimes. I believe we have time in classroom. And huge classroom, a large student in the classroom, large number of students in the classroom, sometimes could be blessings, I believe, personally. These days, I also have 25 students in my class, 25 students. But I don't feel that pressure. Why? I would share that probably during the lunchtime with you. So it's about complex thinking and integration of subject matter learning. So it's about how we ensure that students, after the activity, actually enjoyed something or learned something or was in the activity or wasn't in the activity. Because we know that there are some very good, sometimes very much efficient students. Sometimes we have them in the classroom, maybe one or two who want to take the floor every time, right? Teacher, I know the answer, I would answer, I know everything, so something like this. It's sometimes difficult to manage those 2-3 students in the classrooms, I feel, more than those who been categorized as the failure track students sometimes. So it determines what students can and cannot do in contrast to what they do or do not know. Next. So these are designed to assess students' deeper understanding and skills. So that is one of the major purposes. So with the alternative assessments, we usually try to assess how much they learn, what skills, how much skilled they are going to be, for example, by the end of the semester or by the end of the term. Or did they learn any skill or not? I mean, it's not only about memorization and recall. Like I said, I also raised my hand when Beth asked the question, how many of you were in your school who had to memorize and recall and memorizing and recalling? I was also among one of them. I also had to do that. But these alternative assessments are not for, meant for memorization and recall. So that's interesting. And these sometimes are known as authentic assessments because the teacher knows that this is how my students are learning. This is how my students are performing. This is how my students are developing. This is how my students are getting the skills. This is how my students are going to be skilled in future. So alternative assessments actually is measure a learner's level of proficiency in a subject by allowing them to demonstrate their knowledge and execute tasks in unique and innovative ways. When we mention unique and innovative ways, then we need to think what uniqueness can we bring regarding alternative assessment techniques or types, or what are some of the innovative ways. Now, if you Google, next, I'm going to skip this one, we discussed already. So if you Google, you will find thousands of ideas. But according to John, purposeful language assessment selecting the right alternative test, this is a very, very interesting article. He focused on assessment in general, not only on test. Usually, students, I felt that they are demotivated because they know by the end of the semester that this is how we will be assessed. Now, the university where I work at this moment, here, there is a twist. Students, most of the time, don't know actually what will they do by the end of this semester. I only teach 4 courses in my university: EAP, ESP, instructional methods, and lesson planning. In all these 4 courses, I found that students know that they will be ending up with a summative assessment, but they don't know the summative assessment at the beginning. They only know the formative assessments that they will have to do so that they can come up with a complete portfolio at the end of the term. So that's why the focus is on learning as well. And evaluating the results of the assessment. So we assess the traditional assessments, we evaluate the traditional assessments, but we hardly evaluate the alternative assessments. I know that sometimes it's not possible, it might not be possible if we think of different contexts, but in order to ensure learning in the little classroom that I have, of course I can evaluate the alternative assessment according to the level, according to the needs of the learners. Next, we look, if you Google with alternative assessment ideas, you will get thousands of alternative assessment ideas through which personally you can feel that this is the specific alternative assessment type through which I will be able to assess my learners' skills. So it depends on you, it depends on the learners, it depends on the context. Doesn't matter whether you are teaching primary students, whether you are teaching secondary students, doesn't matter. It also doesn't matter whether you have a projector in your classroom or not. With only a chalkboard, with only a duster and chalk, I believe we all can do this. I remember what Dr. Amanullah sir said, that most of the time we feel that we don't have those resources. Shaila ma'am also has mentioned that even we have resources, we are sometimes not that confident. Even sometimes the teachers say that we don't have enough resources. So it doesn't matter actually what we have. The things that we have, we can utilize them the way we want, and teachers can definitely do that. So here are some ideas which I got from my experiences and from Google also, like plotting a family tree, conducting interview. I believe you conduct some interviews with your students. You, sometimes with your students, and sometimes you maybe suggest your students to go outside and interview some people, right? You do this sometimes. And creating an infographic. Infographic is, pictures. A lot of images, a lot of pictures, through which we sometimes, make our students that kind of confident that, well, this is how you would be able to do something. Like there could be 5 pictures or 6 pictures, and simply they can identify themselves as one among those, pictures. So writing a manual, presenting opposite points of view. We have discussions like this. Do you have discussions like this in your classroom? I guess you have, right? Sometimes students may not agree with a certain point. Maybe they might not agree with the teacher sometimes. Sometimes, like Beth said, we have case studies in the classroom. So sometimes they might have different, opposite feelings sometimes, opposite emotions sometimes. So this happens in the classroom. Producing multimedia interactive posters. I know our students love to do posters, designing travel brochure, and this is very good. This proved to be a very good idea when I taught tourism and hospitality management students while I was teaching in Bangladesh, and then reflection diaries will talk about this. And dramatization, students perform drama, right? They have role play. You have role play activities in your classroom. Then gathering real world examples, portfolio assessment, observation, we have sometimes assessment. We sometimes give questionnaires to our students, we do surveys, we have assessment cards also. But among all these, the experiences that I had from those two courses, I found two ideas totally new. So two ideas were totally new for me. I haven't heard about these ideas before. I knew about reflection diaries. And why did I mention this? There are thousands, but today I had planned actually to focus on four types of assessments which might suit your level. Four types. And the first one is reflection diaries. And for this, you don't need internet, you don't need projector. No one needs projector and internet. Even we don't need a smart device. If we have, that's good. But if we don't have, that's also good. We don't need those. And think about writing skills. It's very difficult to write, make our students write. Am I right? Students usually don't want to write. Like Beth and the others mentioned, that they have problem with paraphrasing. Sometimes, let's forget about paraphrasing. Even if we give them a topic and request them to write a 100-word paragraph, they might struggle with that. Writing a 100-word paragraph on a very common topic. So writing is a very difficult thing. Now, what does reflective diaries do, and how can you do this in your own level? I'm not talking about university teaching. I know that the focus here is on primary and secondary level teachers. So if you feel that I am a primary or a secondary level teacher, how can I implement this in my classroom? So each and every class we have some activities, right? We give something students to write. They discuss, they write maybe 2 or 3 sentences, sometimes 4 or 5 sentences. They write something. Why not maintaining them properly, in a proper way, in a kind of, journal, like in a notebook or in the usual notebook or the diary that they bring with them in the classes. They can actually gradually look, what did I write in my earlier class, in my previous class, and then what am I doing today in this class? Because if I learn how to write a comparative paragraph essay in my earlier class, then today I'm here to contrast. Then what am I doing today? So a kind of having reflection of the earlier class and then adding something in today's class. And then maintaining that till the end of this semester or the year. So in that way, they might have a kind of